This is 16.3 Coaching Session Review and Developmental Plan. This information helped me get a brief idea of who my session was aimed at and therefore helped me plan my session. So the participants were going to be of a mixed ability and they were going to be aged 9 to 10 of a mixed gender. So the facilities we were given was an outdoor space, so an outdoor field space at Carden Primary School, and each group we had 8 to 10 participants. The aims which I have picked for the session are the children to develop the skills of the downward sweep and changeover, and to improve the fluidity of the changeover. The session objectives were that by the end of the session I wanted everyone to be able to understand the main components of what make a smooth changeover, and also for participants to take part in a 35-meter relay race. Within the race, we gave more points for the smoothest changeover than for the team who reached the finish line quickest. This meant that they really concentrated on the key skill that we were looking at, which was the changeover. I believe that my aims and objectives were achieved throughout my session. This is because each participant understood my coaching points, and they demonstrated this throughout the lesson. They all understood the importance of this changeover within the relay race and learnt the technique taught to them quickly. We found it helped that we split the groups up into 3 children per coach so that we had time to concentrate on threes, which meant we could concentrate on individuals more. We thought that this helped because it meant we focused on each child, telling them their strengths and weaknesses and where they could improve. We then gave them time to practice again and again until they had the skill nailed. After we knew that each child had the skill nailed, we put them into a conditioned game, which was the race. This allowed them to show off their skills to us and be proud of what they'd learned. My risk assessment, and my warm-up, my main activity 1, main activity 2, main activity 3, the conditioned game, and finally the cool down. So here is my SWOT analysis. This is both from mine and my observer's point of view. So I believe that a strength that I showed within my planning stages were the overall lesson plan, the progression within the drills, and finally the fluidity of the session. So how well we moved from one drill to the other and how they were all relevant to the activity. The fact that I'd been over the plan with my partners a few times before the session helps ensure that we knew the order of the session and what equipment was needed for each activity, which helped with the fluidity of the session. In the delivery of the session, I believe that I showed good adaptations, group engagement, enjoyment, and control. I had firstly shown enthusiasm to ensure that the children were reading that I had good body language and passion for the session. This helped engage them within what I was saying and the activities that followed. I also had to make some adaptations to the session to ensure everyone was getting the most out of the session. For example, some children were finding certain things harder than others, and therefore I had to break it down into simple, slower steps to give them a full understanding, and then I also showed them a slow mode demonstration. However, now moving on to my weaknesses, I believe that I showed bad timing skills within the planning process of this session because I did not account for things such as questions. So time to move from drill to drill and general disruptions. During the delivery of the session, therefore, I felt I had to rush a bit to end the cool down quicker, so I didn't have a good cool down as we had to rush it. As well as this, I found it hard to balance my positive and negative feedback between the children. I was often giving them too much positivity, which did motivate them. However, I could have been giving them more negative, critical feedback, as it would have made them work harder towards an aim and improve more. Moving on to opportunities, which could help me improve. I believe that practice and experience would help me improve my coaching skills. This is because having to plan many different sessions, I would have been able to work out what does and doesn't work overall and what makes a successful, engaging session and how to manage my time. I think that if I did some work experience at a local athletics club, I could so the club that focuses more on relay, it would help me understand the different ways that the coach delivers the session to different athletes. So if I went to different sessions, maybe one session for beginners to show how he addresses the session and how he breaks it down, and then maybe one for a more elite relay session so that I could see how the coach adapts the session for different abilities. As well as this, I could go to a local primary school and watch some PE lessons run by teachers. This would be helpful to get an understanding of how the teachers engage the students and how they are able to manage 20 plus kids, ensuring that everyone is involved. By doing a level 1 coaching course, I believe that I would gain more knowledge and understanding of how to be an effective coach and an effective leader. So this would also help me manage my time because I've become more immersed in how to plan a session. So threats which could come along with time is time, cost and location. Some courses are very expensive, which means that this could be an issue, as well as time can be an issue. Some courses last several weeks, and finally, if the facilities of the course is far away, travel could be an issue, as I wouldn't be able to get to it as easily. Some local primary schools may not want me to observe as I'm under 18, and they might find having an observer disruptive to the lesson and therefore might be turned down. This could be the same with a club and also with a course. I may not be allowed because I'm under 18 and I might have to have parental consent for me to partake. So on this slide I have 3 strengths of my session. So the first was motivation, and I could see that within my session the kids were very motivated and were striving to improve and were striving to do themselves proud in the session. I was ensuring that I was giving them praise throughout, which made them feel good about their performance, and I wanted them to carry on impressing and doing well. As well as this, by ensuring that there was progression in the session, it helped them keep working harder and harder. This was effective as I believe it made the participants want to work harder to become better. The next strength was communication. I found myself being clear and broke down each activity so it was simple and clear to understand. I had a loud, clear voice which was useful as we had a large outdoor space. However, I often called the children in so I didn't have to shout, and so they were closer and could hear me better. At the end of the explanation, I ensured that everyone understood by asking questions and so asking questions such as what was the coaching point of this, just to make sure they have understood what I did say. This was effective as it meant everyone was clarified on the activity and everyone knew what they were doing. So finally, I believe I ran a good fluid session, so the fluidity of the session was good. I believe that this was a strength as the lesson was planned well and we organised before the session too. Each activity fitted into the next well, so there was also progression shown from one to the other. If someone else was leading and explaining a drill, we ensured that the other person was setting up another drill so everything was ready and we could move on to the next activity swiftly. This was effective as it made the session look professional and meant that the children didn't have to wait around and become unengaged. So this is my first area of improvement, and this is timings. So I hadn't thought much about how long things such as questions would take up, so I needed to add extra time to each activity to ensure that the children had the activity nailed and that they understood. So a development plan would be to improve the timings of the session. I would add extra time onto each activity to ensure I knew how long it would take. So I wouldn't need to add extra time to my warm-up. However, main activity I would need to take time, as some kids take longer to pick up skills than others. I could also look at previous sessions done by teachers to see how much time they leave for each session. And finally, I could take a course to help me with my time management. So a smart target for this would be within a month I would like to be able to plan and lead a session where I've considered timings well. This would mean that I wouldn't have to rush the call down as I wouldn't have run out of time. As well as this, I will be more clear on instructions so that children don't have to waste time by asking questions. As well as this, within a year I want to have taken up my sports leadership course to make a better leader and to know how to manage my time better. So my second area of improvement would be balancing between positive and negative feedback. This would mean giving positive feedback to motivate, however, also negative feedback to see progression within the children and for them to have an aim. So for this, I could watch a coach from an athletics club and see how they give feedback to their athletes. I want to be able to give them critical feedback to ensure that they get the best from my session, and I want to be able to give them specific feedback. So instead of just saying nice changeover, I'd want to say, oh, that was a really good changeover because you gripped the baton really well and were looking straight forward the whole time and shouted hand at the correct time. So a smart target for this would be within a month I want to be able to gain enough knowledge about relay to ensure I can give feedback which is helpful and appropriate. I will watch coaches and see how they give balanced feedback, and this will help me understand how to do it. Also, I will go into research about the relay. So my third area of improvement is to state the coaching points. So I would want to do more research into the downward sweep technique so I can teach it better, as I would have had a better understanding myself. I will go to a relay session run by a professional and see how they teach the downward sweep technique, and I also go onto the internet and use other resources to gain knowledge. So a smart target for this would be within a month I want to be able to gain enough knowledge about relay to ensure my coaching points are relevant and clear. I cannot do this at the moment as I don't have enough knowledge, but I will go and watch a relay session at the local athletics club to understand their coaching points, which I could use within my coaching points, and I would add these into my plan.